Accessing agent files. Brian Sovryn. Early 21st century anarchist. Creator and host of the podcast Sovryn Tech. By the year 2021, the show would be instrumental in the downfall of various conservative ideologies in the government, helping usher in an incredible time.
Hey, want to take a walk on the wild side and experience the bleeding edge of technology? Then get ready, because it doesn't get much more edgy than this. You're in for a wild ride. You're listening to Sovryn Tech with your host, the man in triple black, the golden stallion of the tech world.
Stop me from my singing on Blue Street. No! I don't think the devil's ever gonna give me back. I don't think so. Staying around here takes patience. That's like a full-time occupation. I've become a diplomat. Yes, it did, baby! Baby, don't get
How about a little David Lee Roth for you? Diamond Dave, baby. You gotta love it. And that's a nice little preview, even though he doesn't make this list, of the special I have for you this week. And I have to say, this is a very fitting special for the week of Saturnalia. Of course, you know, some theorize that Saturnalia is where the Christians took the Christmas holiday from. And, you know, so I like to make little reference to it here and there regardless. So happy Saturnalia, Merry Encryptmas. And, and let's get into this. And yeah, Saturnalia was a bit of a bacchanalian festival, meaning that there were widespread orgies to be had. And interestingly, not just by the Roman elites. With Saturnalia, there was a bit of role reversal with hierarchies. It's an interesting holiday to look into, but I think you'll understand why this top 8 that we're going to do here, this top 8 special, would fit in so well, because this top 8 I'm calling You Need Metal. And I'm, of course, talking about heavy metal, which arguably is perhaps my favorite genre of music. I mean, I'm pretty eclectic with my tastes. I can enjoy smooth jazz. I can enjoy. I love classical soundtracks, all that good stuff, and a bit of a fan of some pop here and there, along with just a whole slew of different categories. But metal is really heavy metal. It's that music that's. I can't really think of another type of music that's genuinely inspirational. And metal can incorporate, one of the unique things about heavy metal is that it can incorporate so many different styles. In fact, Devin Townsend, who he played for Strapping Young Lad, but he had a bunch of his own solo albums that he's done in a multitude of forms. But there was one, Synkestra, an amazing album. Now, he's not on the top 8. Not that he doesn't deserve to be. The man's a god, okay? But in Synkestra, there is a song or many songs that actually incorporate a banjo into a metal song. And you'd think that it wouldn't work, but it does. It works really well. It fits in. I mean, you can't imagine anything else being there. So that's the thing. That's the unique thing about metal, more so than any other type of music that I know of, is that it literally can incorporate every other genre out there and make it work, and have it not sound cheap. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing for me. With heavy metal, again, it is the most... of course, it can be it can be, very depressing as compared to inspirational as well. It can be very depressing, and I'm not so much of a one for that. I can dig some degree of screamo, where like a guy's doing a real death, and all that kind of stuff. I used not Suicidal Tendencies, Suicide Silence. I was a fan of them. I understand, what the music is and what it's all about. But that leads me to another point about metal. Metal is that I don't really know any other types of music that, have that degree of popularity that metal does, that it's still going, still vital, still kind of fresh. And that's part of what I want to prove with this special, is that there's lots of bands out there really still delivering some great solid metal. But metal is, in fact, there's this, one of the bands that's going to be on here. They have a song where I think the lyrics go something to the effect of, metal has no borders over land and over sea. We will take no orders because metalheads are free. It's really, I think that actually cues into a lot of the other part, why heavy metal, when people are into metal, why they take it so seriously. Because, we talk about often on Sovryn Tech, I talk about temporary autonomous zones and permanent autonomous zones. And really every metal concert, more than any other type of music, is a real temporary autonomous zone where generally the rules just don't apply when you go in there. People are nude. People are, doing all kinds of stuff, people, whatever things they're ingesting, whatever actions they're taking. Just all kinds of wild shit, is happening. Just personally, I can't begin to tell you all the stuff I've done at a metal concert. So, but my point being is that metal has this subculture that really does cross borders. When it comes to metal, there's no Europeans or Americans or whatever. There's just metalheads, and they totally get along. And there's like a shared language. There's a shared appreciation. There's a shared, even, perhaps a style of dress, all kinds of things, all the things that make up a subculture. But metal, amazingly, really is global. Unlike some of these things where they're kind of species, they're kind of, rare or pockets here and there. These are really like this is just about anywhere you go. You run into a metalhead, you're usually in good shape. In fact, one of the bands that I wanted to put on this list, that being Manowar, but they're not gonna make this cut. It's so tough to have a top 8. They play this up that, there's kind of this whatever's going on. As long as you've got some, metalhead friends, you can still have a good time and you can get through, and you have like this built-in support group or whatever. Not to say that it's the best kind of support group by and large, but maybe it is. Maybe it works out pretty well. So, and like I said, metal is really inspirational. In fact, when I work out, I listen to metal all the time. And, there's I don't know of any other music that really gives you that intensity, and that really gives you that epicness. I mean, I guess electronic, music or electronica, whatever you want to call it. I guess that can have some of that intensity, but then it misses out. And I think this is kind of the rarity, because it misses out on the fact that metal, with very, very little, alteration, can, the one could say that the amplifier is turned up to 11 and all this shit, is alteration or whatever. Okay. But with by and large human control, not relying on computers and whatever, can keep it real, can keep it as to where music, kind of like the Bon Jovi song Last Man Standing, where it says his songs were more than music, they were pictures from his soul. And I think metal can deliver that to where most other styles of music that can be, incredibly intense and inspirational, and adrenaline going, don't deliver those pictures of the soul, perhaps, even though I don't believe that there's such a thing as a soul, but, pictures of one's experiences is perhaps the way to put that. So metal's really unique. I definitely, every style of music is relatively unique, but heavy metal seems to stand in a very special place. In just one look at the subculture of heavy metal, and I think you come to realize that very quickly, especially because, speaking of the subculture, look, the styles haven't changed. That's the incredible thing, is that with pop, people wear different styles when they go to the concerts or whatever, or, take your pick of the music. Everybody's more or less sticking with, what is more or less, as far as their dress and look and outlook and everything, is totally decided by what's fashionable of the day, as to where metal really has like a set style that's been set for like 40 years. Almost 50 years. So that's an interesting thing that I don't think any other type of music really delivers upon. Think about this, because look, Kenny G or Kim Waters aren't dressing like they did in 1988 anymore. They're dressing with the contemporary fashion right now, as to where you look at Rob Halford, from Judas Priest, arguably the greatest, or one of the greatest, metal bands of all time. And he's dressing the same way he did in 1972. Come on. That's really, so I think people want to say, well, no, every music's special. No, metal's really something special. In fact, the only thing that might be comparable, and I really can't, other than a few choice songs, I really can't stand to listen to it. The only other one is country. I think that has like such a drastic, subculture, or such a different subculture from anything else, and that it's kind of stuck. And in many ways, country music has. Now, please, I'm not knocking country. I'm just saying it's not something I listen to often. I love, what was that Kenny Chesney song? She thinks my tractor's sexy. That's a goddamn classic. That's so good. And hell, actually, one of my favorite metal bands of all time, Giant, who won't be on this list, but Giant, Dan Huff and the boys, Dan Huff writes country music now. In fact, he wrote Honky Tonk Badonkadunk. So, there's some cross-pollination certainly that happens there. And of course, remember when Bon Jovi did a kind of a country album with, and they had guests like Big and Rich and all that on there. It was interesting. So please, if you're a country music fan, I'm not insulting the genre. I'm just saying it's not something that I'm going to put on, and it definitely doesn't get me, when it's time to work out, when it's time to get intense, whatever I happen to be doing, for me, it doesn't deliver the goods, but metal does. And metal goes to the most epic of heights. And again, compared to any other music, I don't know. And like I said, I like all kinds of music. This isn't just like, oh, metal only. None of that. I like super Eurobeat. I dig all kinds of stuff. So anyway, let's get into this. Let's get this started. Okay. We have the top 8, and this is not a top 8 of like, who's the greatest metal band, and all this. It's really more just okay, if you're looking for some great metal, here's some bands, here's a top 8 to look into, people that are still vital and people that are still delivering. Or maybe maybe bands that you kind of perhaps overlooked some of their, their previous works and didn't realize that they were still putting shit out, even if they've stopped now. So the first band I want to open up with is, this one has an interesting story, and I might really be opening up with the best of the bunch here. And the first band is Overkill. Now, Overkill is, and the reason it's an interesting story is that they are so, a lot of people know them from the 80s. They've released 18 albums. Okay. From like 80, I think they started in 1980. I don't know if they had an album come out to like maybe 85 or so, but they started in 1980 and they just had an album come out in 2014. So a lot of people know them for, of course, the song, Fuck You, Hello from the Gutter. A lot of people remember those classics. They're incredibly underrated. Because you have in thrash, they are a thrash metal band. And of course, that's the other thing too, is that metal has like 10 billion subgenres within itself, which really, proves its own uniqueness in that. Yeah, I mean, in one style of music, there's a million different types, but they're thrash metal. And so in thrash metal, you have what's known as the Big Four. And they've done concerts together amazingly in recent years. And the Big Four are kind of what people consider to be the trendsetters of thrash metal. And of course, Metallica, incredibly well known. Love Metallica. I love Saint Anger. I love Load. I love Reload. Death Magnetic. I love all their albums. Okay. Anyway, Metallica. You have Slayer. You have, which Slayer's amazing. They're still, pumping out stuff. And you have Megadeth, of course. And Megadeth is obviously, amazing. that should go without saying, Symphony of Destruction, all that. And then you have Anthrax, Anthrax is also awesome. And another band really that's still cranking out great stuff, especially since they got Joey Belladonna back. So anyway, that's your Big Four. But some people say that it should actually be a Big Five because other bands aren't getting their due. And I agree. Now, some people would put Testament in the 5th place. Some would have other picks of who they'd put in that 5th place. I would put Overkill there. And the reason that I'd actually do that is in comparison to, Metallica. Okay, Metallica's, in my opinion, has never put out a bad album, like I said. Anthrax has had some real dives, even when they had Bush on. Megadeth, yeah, there's been some rough ones, Cryptic Writings, all that. Risk, maybe, though Crush 'Em's a good song. And Slayer has had a couple of rough ones in recent years. Okay, World Painted Blood was amazing, but anyway, so the thing is that Overkill, with 18 albums. Now, value is subjective, right? But Overkill never made a bad album. In 18 albums, I've never heard a bad song. Like, each album is track for track. You can just rock right through it. I mean, and if you listen to one of them, all the way through, I mean, boy, you get a hell of a workout. Trust me. It'll make you work out if you're not working out. That's how intense, the music is. And you'd think starting in 1980 that, boy, yeah, and having 18 albums as to where a lot of those other bands don't even have any, half that in the same time frame. You'd think maybe they've lost their luster, but it's just not true. I mean, most people know them, like I said, for, Fuck You and Hello from the Gutter and all that. But they had, in the 90s, there was a great album, Necroshine. The title track from that is incredible. In 2009, I think it was, when Ironbound came out, this album's a masterpiece of metal. I mean, you can't, no one can touch it. In fact, listen to the title track from that. That is so intense. I challenge you to stand still listening to the song Ironbound by Overkill. I mean, it's nuts. It's so good. So, maybe I'll put in a little sample of Ironbound here for you to listen to. So, but, Overkill, I mean, not a huge commercial success compared to a lot of the other thrash bands, certainly in comparison to the to the big four that are out there. But again, not a bad song, and they're all from the East Coast. They're a bunch of New Jersey boys, which, a lot of great music seems to come out of New Jersey for whatever reason. Maybe it's just so people could play music so they get the hell out of there, become rock stars so that they can leave. But Overkill really does it. And I mean, and they have not stopped. They just keep on going. Bobby Ellsworth, the guy still sounds, his voice still sounds really vital. It's amazing. And so I'm glad I get to top off with this, because people just totally either have never heard of this band or they stopped listening in 1992. And what a disservice you're doing to yourself. If you like some, great intense metal, if you want music, that you want to work out to, or perhaps go for a not so quiet Sunday drive, this is the stuff, that you want to be hitting. I don't think that there's a band I could really recommend more. They're phenomenal. So let's crank up a little bit of Ironbound here for you. Enjoy. Oh, yeah, baby. Whew, Overkill. All right. Let's get on to the next band on the list. And this one, I think everybody knows who this is, but I don't think they realize that they have more than one song. And that is the great Motorhead. These guys, Lemmy Kilmister's outfit, of course, they've been rocking since 1975. 5 and have some odd 22. I think they have an album coming out in 2015, I think, so maybe 23 albums. So they're more accomplished than Overkill, but same deal where pretty much since, well, not every album's that grand, but pretty much since 1980, ever since Ace of Spades, they haven't done a bad album. Like everything's good. Every track is cool. There's a million different, talking about the multitude of emotions that metal can really, get you to feel and can address. Amazingly, I know you wouldn't expect it, but Motorhead actually delivers on most of that. Other than a love song, there's certainly plenty of ups and downs. And I think Lemmy would like to say that he's more of a blues band than he is a metal band, blah, 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 blah. Some people make that kind of claim, but actually, I remember Kirk Hammett from Metallica. He said that he's like, oh no, we're not Metallica's not a metal band. And I just remember Eddie Trunk saying, "What do you mean? Metal's in your name." So sometimes people want to classify themselves in different ways, and whatever, let them do that. But to me, Motorhead is a metal band straight up, and they are, again, like I mentioned, Ace of Spades. Now that's the song everybody kind of knows. It's like, oh yeah, Ace of Spades, and it's a great song. I mean, really, really fast. In fact, actually they had an album before that called Overkill where that's where Overkill got their name, or took their name from, as I understand it. So kind of a nice lead in between the two here. And Lemmy Kilmister, I mean, he's better known than any Motorhead album or song. Everybody knows Lemmy when they see him. He's got kind of the mutton chop, sideburns and all of that. And the guy is quite the philosopher in a lot of ways. I mean, he can really call bullshit on a lot of things. Movies have been, or, documentaries have been made, many with him in it. And he, lays down his various thoughts on things. And it's ironically, as long as you can get through his, his heavy accent, it's all pretty interesting stuff. But these guys keep on going. They don't stop. And that's an interesting thing about metal too, is that, and granted, like pop has Madonna, I suppose. But other than that, most genres of music, like the older guys, really do start to lose their relevance. And when they perform, certainly they're not delivering at perhaps the same level that they did, 10, 20 years before. But with metal, it seems like they can still really put it on. They can still really make it happen. And Lemmy, definitely, still just comes out, rocks it out, is nonstop. And it's just amazing. It's incredibly impressive to watch. I mean, to see him, I mean, they play straight metal. They don't do a whole bunch of bombast, like bands like Motley Crue or Judas Priest would or whatever, which is, I love both those bands. So, I mean, nothing wrong with it. But they will just come out, rock the house and walk away. I mean, it's really something. But again, most people don't realize that they still come out with amazing, music. In fact, the first time that I really heard Motorhead outside of Ace of Spades was actually an album that came out in 2002, which was called Hammered. Now, Hammered had on it as kind of a bonus track. It had the theme music for a WWE, yes, that's wrestling, superstar, Triple H, and which was fine. I mean, he's at the time, he was kind of a hero of mine. And so, yes, as I said many times on Sovereign Tech, I used to watch wrestling. And, so I more or less wanted that song. And I was like, well, let's see what the rest of the band has. And so I listened to it and it just blew me away. Track for track, the album blew me away. And they haven't stopped. They still, The World Is Yours, Motorizer. Motorizer came out in 2008. From the first track on, I mean, it floors you. It's so good. It's intense, but then there's points where it's incredibly laid back. It's great. And there's been a remastered version of Ace of Spades that's come out in recent years. That's an amazing thing. The second disc on that, some of the, for lack of a better phrase, remixes of some of the songs, Love Me Like a Reptile and all that on there are just, isn't that ironic? are amazing. So Motorhead really does get overlooked. And they've continued to do work with the WWE. Actually, they did a couple other songs, all relative to the same character, Triple H, of course. They did The King of Kings. They also did, A Line in the Sand for the stable called Evolution. And it's good stuff. It's particularly good to work out to, and certainly gives you the mental image of Triple H. And boy, if you're trying to get to that size, it's good to kind of, visualize what you're going for. So, okay, so we'll play a little track here, just a little bit. I'm not going to play entire songs. Okay. I don't want to waste your time like that. But I'll play, here's Rock Out from Motorizer. This is just an intense song. Lots of fun. So enjoy that, and I'll be back with the next band. Oh, yeah, baby. All right. Well, let's not slow it down, but let's change the tone a little bit, because our next band is, boy. See, this is the thing. Like, there's no way. In fact, just to lay it out to where I'm only telling you. In fact, I'm cheating because I'm listing off other bands while I'm talking about this. But to only tell you about 8 metal bands is just an incredibly an incredible disservice. And to be able to say, like, what's your favorite and all that, what's your top 5, what's your top 10? I mean, take your pick of the number. Shit, man, it's impossible. And I can't picture how many times I've said, oh, this is my favorite metal band. This is my favorite metal band, and it gets laid out so much. I mean, certainly in my mind, nobody tops Kiss, and arguably no one ever will. But, when I say Queensryche is my favorite, or, one of my favorites, God, how do you say that? But Queensryche is our next band. And this is a band that in recent years has been in some degree of turmoil, but still has, really great heavy rockin' albums, coming out. And Queensryche is, boy, how to describe this? They are a really unique animal in the metal scene. And because they're not exactly, there's a genre known as progressive metal, prog rock, whatever, where it's this really, high production, like, really high end kind of, far thinking conceptual stuff. Okay. And I think that Queensryche gets, kind of labeled as a progressive metal band, but I don't think so. There's really no one, even Dream Theater, who I absolutely love, doesn't really compare to what Queensryche delivers, even though some would say sonically they're about the same. And Queensryche is what's often called a thinking person's band. Okay. Because unlike a lot of other metal bands, and believe me, this is half the reason I love metal, they're not always singing, if ever, about sex. And that's the other thing too with metal, is that it's like next to like maybe rap, which I appreciate some rap and hip hop. It is the genre of sex. Cock rock is actually a term for it. Okay. And definitely Queensryche doesn't fit into that. And they are touching on very deep subjects, often very political subjects. It really runs the gamut. But at the same time, one usually would expect that kind of content would not lend itself to really, great riffs, great solos, and great metal overall. But in fact, it does. And Queensryche is so good. There's no way I could list off every single great song these guys have done. Take your pick of the album, right from the beginning, The Lady Wore Black. Yeah, you didn't expect me to not say that one, did you? Take Hold of the Flame from The Warning. Rage for Order has, I'm Going to Get Close to You, which of course is a cover, but just fantastic. And then of course there's Operation Mindcrime, which is incredibly political, has incredible songs on it. Breaking the Silence, I Don't Believe in Love, Revolution Calling. Just all these tremendous songs. Empire, which that album pretty much everybody knows, because it's almost, except for two songs, that album is track for track, and it almost makes it the greatest album of all time. It's so good. It opens up with Best I Can, and then just goes on from there. The song Empire, Jet City Woman, Another Rainy Night, Hand on Heart, Anybody Listening. Oh man, I love Anybody Listening. In fact, that song is really, really epic, and I think a lot of anarchists can really relate to what its lyrical content is saying. But boy, Anybody Listening, just before I mention other albums and other songs, Anybody Listening is kind of you might want to it goes on, okay, because again they do, Queensryche does big albums, with big ideas behind it. So that's why, like I say, I think they get labeled as progressive metal. But in Anybody Listening, the song doesn't stop. It keeps on going for a couple minutes after the fact. And all you hear is like a beach scene. And, you're hearing like seagulls, and you're hearing water and waves and all this stuff. And then about a minute in, maybe less, suddenly you start hearing people talking, and you have no idea what they're saying. I still don't know exactly what they're saying. And then, bam, you hear a gunshot, and the album stops. And it's kind of weird. It's a little like disturbing. Because I remember the first time listening through Empire, and I'm just like, and Anybody Listening ends, and I'm just like, oh my God, that was amazing. Except for the two songs that suck on it, which are Della Brown and what's that atrocity? It's like their biggest hit. Silent Lucidity. That's it. Sorry. I hate that song. It's their biggest song. It's terrible. So anyway, it's such a shame that it ends off that way. Of course, now if you get it, there's, bonus tracks, Last Night in Paris and all this stuff. But it messes with you. It really does. When you hear just that gunshot at the end, because especially because it's a trick, because you want to turn up your speakers to hear. It's like, what are these people saying on this beach? And then suddenly, just bam. And anyway, so Empire's a great album. Then of course they came out with Promised Land, which has, another track for track. There's, Disconnected, One More Time Around. Man, there's so many great songs on there. I Am I is wild. In fact, there was a video game, and there was a box set that came out in 2000, I want to say 2003, 2004, something like that. Maybe 2005. There was a box set called Revolution Calling. It cost like $100. I bought it when it came out. It was so good. Where they remastered all the albums at the time. Tribe, the album Tribe hadn't come out yet, but they remastered all that. And it came with the game for the album Promised Land. And this game was kind of a PC puzzler type game, kind of a Myst of sorts. And that was pretty cool. And some other bands kind of did that, like Iron Maiden, who hasn't made this list, but please listen to Final Frontier. It's incredible. Iron Maiden is top notch as always. So, but so Queensryche really experimented pretty heavy in going in a lot of different directions. But what happened later on is that I think Jeff Tate, the lead singer, he really wanted to experiment in some very different directions, especially in later albums. In fact, their main guitarist, he left, Chris DeGarmo, who he went off to go be an airline pilot. I mean, hey, whatever, and they got other guys in, but whether or not DeGarmo left because he didn't like the direction the band was going, who knows? But now, I mean, this band is really, in fact, there's almost a kind of an IP battle going on because it's split in two. There's the Queensryche that has Jeff Tate in it, and only Jeff Tate, along with whatever band members he chose. But then there's also the Queensryche that has, Michael Wilton and Scott Rockenfeld, the drummer, who, so they have more members of the band, at least two of the original members in Queensryche. And I think they got Todd LaTorre to be the lead singer for it, which he sounds fine. So, but they're all coming out with albums. So like you're getting, so I think it was in 2013, we actually got two Queensryche albums, but it was by two totally different bands, but they were both pretty good. I enjoyed both albums. I thought they were fantastic. Certainly better than some recent stuff like Dedicated to Chaos that, that Jeff Tate did with Michael Wilton and Rockenfeld. So Queensryche, a lot to grab there. And of course, Jeff Tate has his own solo albums. His first one's really good. His second solo album, it was okay. But a lot of music to listen to here. And again, Queensryche is, it's smart metal. Its style is smart. Its lyrical content is smart. It's really, it's thinking stuff. This is not, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's not that at all. And that makes them stand out in a lot of ways. And also, it's interesting. I used to get annoyed growing up because, everybody would talk about, the Seattle rock scene is the best. And I was like, oh, you mean Queensryche because they're from Seattle. And of course, then they'd say, no, Nirvana. Yeah, fuck that. I couldn't care less about that band. Anyway, and partly, let me touch on that for a second. Grunge metal or grunge rock, whatever, the grunge scene of the 90s really tore all this stuff down because you were having, and I think some of the bands, at least some of the other ones that we might highlight here, or ones that I've certainly mentioned in this, were talking about, it was interesting. Music was talking about, again, very, very political issues, very intelligent issues like Queensryche would, or even Dream Theater, which they're still doing that and still doing a hell of a job, even with Mike Portnoy not playing with them. James LaBrie still has an amazing voice. Or you had Motley Crue, you had Poison, you had Winger, you had all these guys singing about, really living a fun life, and just having tons of sex and all that good stuff. And grunge killed all of those great topics that needed to be discussed and were worthy of being sung about. It really did. And it just turned everything into life sucks. I fucking hate it. I really do. The attitude alone is just so off base. And in fact, it's funny. I almost want to talk about Nickelback, but I'm not going to because you know what? I love Nickelback. And you're going to have to deal with it. And if someone wants me to talk about it, you're going to have to send me an email, brian@zomiofflinegames.com. Okay, so let's rock out a little Queensryche song here. And this one's actually going to be from Promised Land. But make no mistake, they're still making awesome music to this day. Promised Land was a 90s album, and some people would say it was the height of the band. But I don't think it was the height. I think, because They released an album after that called Here in the Now Frontier, which had some pretty heavy stylistic changes. That still had great songs on it, like You was an amazing song. But anyway, here you go. Here's a little taste from Promised Land. This is going to be One More Time Around. Great song.
enters the secret place, the barrier only I embrace. Time is fleeting now, they say. Take time to look inside and face the change.
Can you beat that stuff? Really? Oh man. Really epic, really touches deep, I think, for some. But anyway, let's get away from from some of that, and let's go into something that actually a band that does not come out of the 80s at all. They do come out of the 90s, and it's a band that, talk about unique, definitely has a very unique style, and they are certainly due for a new album. But again, I don't, when I talk to other metalheads or people that like metal, I don't hear this band come up, and I don't hear people talk about, if it does, usually they'll only talk about one song. Okay. But then they'll never mention about everything, all the other songs, because some of their albums are track for track, not all. But, these guys have done 6 albums. I wish they'd come out with another one. But it's, and if I mispronounce anything, pardon me, I don't speak German. And this is Rammstein. And Rammstein, woo, you want to talk about intense music. They are what is known as industrial metal or industrial rock. And even if, this is the interesting thing with Rammstein, is that they showed the real, talk about metal has no borders. It also has no language barriers. Because the people I do know that have listened to Rammstein and that have checked out the bulk of their work and have listened to more songs than just Du hast, which means you hate, they can't stop listening. They love it, and they'll keep replaying song after song after song. And that's the real beauty of them, is that they show you don't have to understand a single goddamn word they're saying. But the music is just, it's so rocking, it's so heavy, it's so intense. You got to listen to it. You got to love it. And they mix in some like I said, how metal can put in any genre. They'll put in some kind of, electronica here and there. And I mean, they've been doing this since 1995. Last album came out in 2009. Lieve ist für whatever. I can't pronounce that that album's name, but it was a pretty good album. It had Ich tu de vir on it, and some other great songs. In fact, I think that's the album that had Pussy. There's a song by them called Pussy. And by and large, they sing it in English. And some of their songs, like if you get deluxe editions of their various albums, they'll have English versions of their songs. But Pussy, they more or less sing in English. And it was a fun song. And the video's, smoking hot. But you have Till Lindemann, which is their lead singer. He's like, "You have a pussy, I have a dicka." It's so funny. Anyway, so even up to their last album that came out in 2009, they were still delivering great music. Rosenroll, which was the album before that, the title track's good, but otherwise not the best of albums. But Reise was great. In fact, they did get a little bit of play. They had a song in there called America, which was actually insulting America, not praising it. That song did decently well, but Reise has some other good songs on it, like Los, and it's probably, I gotta admit, I want to talk about some of their other songs, but it's probably best that you don't know what they're saying, because some of this stuff, especially some of the songs on Reise, they, oh boy, are they talking about some interesting subjects like cannibalism and some other things. Speaking of that, I know I'm talking about bands that might seem a little more mainstream. Do understand, I am well aware of bands like Cannibal Corpse, Meshuggah. I know all these guys. Okay, believe me, if there's anything I know more than perhaps tech and history, it's metal. I am a metal historian all the way. But anyway. Other songs these guys had. Now, their first album was Herzleid, and that is a track-for-track album. Asche tun Asche. There's the song Rammstein, which the band actually got really famous. Rammstein, the band, it wasn't the Matrix soundtrack that made them famous. It was actually Lost Highway, okay, which is, boy, if you want to watch a really wild film by David Lynch, Lost Highway is the movie to watch. But that's really where they kind of, people first started hearing about them. And on there they had the song that is also their name, the song called Rammstein. And I knew that song and I knew Du Hast. But when I finally got my hands on a copy of Herzleid and also the album Senschuk, I mean, I was blown away. There's Du riechst so gut off of Herzleid, which that means you smell so good, is an incredible. Just listen to that song. In fact, you know what? That's going to be the song I'm going to play. I'm going to play Du riechst so gut when we cut here, just to give you a sample of the music, because that song is bad ass. That is so good. And then Senschuk has great songs like Engel, and even there's a hidden track, which is a cover of Depeche Mode's Stripped. And they do sing it in English, and it's awesome. Way better than Depeche Mode's version. I know how sacrilegious that might sound, but it's true. And they have a bunch of other great songs off, Buch Dich and all of that off of, off of Senschuk. But the other, was Buch Dich on Senschuk? Whatever. So, but the great album, and this is the thing, this album is actually the main reason I wanted to talk about them, because most people I know, again, never talk about it. This album should be played, forever. And it's Mutter, which means mother in German. And I can't, from the first track, it levels you. It's so heavy, so good. It has great harmony. I know you wouldn't expect that, but it's really something. And the German language just lends itself so well to the epicness of some of the songs off of Mutter. Now, one of the songs kind of got some attention with, I think it was in the movie Triple X with Vin Diesel. It was Feuerfrei. And that was, that was a good There's a really good, good song that's on there, but it's the weakest of the bunch. So it's kind of disappointing that that's the only one that that's out there. But yeah, right from the first song, there's Mein Herz brennt, incredibly epic. Links 2, 3, 4. I mean, you want something to work out to. Then there's Son, Ich will, Mutter. I mean, it goes on. And even Ryan Rouse, I mean, there's lots of great songs on there that nobody ever talks about. And it's some of the best metal made in history, bar none. I mean, it is epic shit, and really, really heavy. So I get disappointed that, that nobody talks about it. And I think some people are like, well, everybody knows who Rammstein is. Okay, good. I'm glad you know who they are. Have you listened to their opus? Have you listened to their group of works? Because God damn, that's good stuff. So anyway, I'd love to play a song from Mutter, but let's just go ahead and let's crank out. And I hope they come out with another album, even if they have to replace some members. I really, really do. But let's go ahead. This is Du riechst so gut. I think you'll find yourself rocking pretty fast.
Schmale Brücke. Die Ufer sind Vernunft und Trieb. Ich steig dir nach, das Sonnenlicht den Geist verwirrt. Ein blindes Kind, das vorwärts kriecht, weil es seine Mutter riecht. Ich finde dich. Die Spur ist frischend auf die Brücke. Dann schweißt ein warmes Blut. Ich seh dich nicht, ich riech dich nur, ich spüre dich ein. Erlaubt dir das vor Hunger schreit, bitter richtig meilenweit. Du riechst so gut, du riechst so gut, ich geh dir hinterher. Du riechst so gut.
Oh, man. I don't want it to stop. Love Rammstein. And in fact, a lot of people, speaking of the album that song is from, Herzleid, the German version of the cover has the entire band with their shirts off. And Till Lindemann, the lead singer, he is a big guy, like very muscular guy. And all these guys are in pretty good shape. And it shows them all with kind of clean cut haircuts and with their shirts off and looking in shape. And some people accused Rammstein of kind of being neo-Nazis. But I don't think anybody really in Germany did that. I think it was just people in America, hearing like this German music being somewhat popular and then going, hey, what the fuck is that cover? They're believe me, they're not neo-Nazis. I know that for a fact. So anyway, just wanted to get that out there in case someone had leveled that against, the little Hebrew boy here. So, but let's get into the next band. And, it's interesting that a lot of American metal today, bands that have come out in the aughts or in recent years, may not be the grandest things to listen to. But again, since metal is so goddamn global, it's funny that a lot of, Europe, maybe even more Eastern Europe or Northern Europe, whatever, has really taken up the charge. You get bands out of Sweden, Switzerland, and Finland, and that's where some of the greatest music is coming out of. And this is an interesting point because the band I'm about to talk about is Swedish, and this is the thing, okay? Because if you didn't have the ability to download music via torrent, I guarantee half this music would have never been discovered, because torrenting music is so key. It's what forced record companies to accept streaming music, to accept models like Spotify, Google Play Music All Access, Beats, and, all the rest of it. Okay. Because otherwise, because without that, you would have never heard of some of these bands. And in fact, even if you did hear of them, you'd have to shell out a premium price for their albums because they'd be what was called imports. Now, nowadays, it's all MP3s and there's no such thing as imports anymore. But this used to be a big issue, was that if you wanted, because a lot of bands, okay, so here's what would happen. And metal was really at the forefront of a lot of this. What would happen is that, say the Black Album, okay, would come out, by Metallica, would come out in the United States in, 91, whatever. It wouldn't be until a year or so later that the RIAA would allow it to come out in Europe or in Japan or in, other countries. Even though everybody was already on board with CDs, it's not like they had to put it into some other format or something or do any kind of region coding like they would with DVDs or whatever, even though all that, shouldn't delay anything. And so, but that's the thing is like when the Black Album came out in Japan, it had extra tracks. And so if you are a completist, music collector, especially back then, pre-MP3s, you wanted a copy of that Japanese album. But here's the funny thing, is that you would have to pay, for what is normally an $18 CD. Yes, CDs used to cost $18. You would have to pay like $40, $50 to get your hands on a couple of extra tracks. It was really, there was something really wrong about that. Okay. And so the fact that we have torrent sites really made a lot of this possible. First off, because you get access to a lot of these, either great, rare live tracks or bonus tracks that are on albums that got released abroad, or because you would find out about bands like, and this isn't the band that I'm going to list off, but you would find out about bands like Dragon Force. Holy shit, Dragon Force. That they should totally be on this list, but they're not. But no one, it wasn't until, in fact, Dragon Force is a great example because Dragon Force wasn't famous until I think Guitar Hero 3, when a song, from I think it was Inhuman Rampage, 3 albums down, finally they get a song released on Guitar Hero because nobody plays faster except for maybe Chris and Pelletieri. Nobody plays faster than Dragon Force. You never heard, you never heard of them, but they put them into the game because of the complexity of it. And then people heard it. I think it was Through the Fire and the Flames, maybe. And people are just like, what the hell was that? And then suddenly everybody loved it. But this is the interesting thing. Thanks to torrent sites like Demonoid and others at the time, we're talking 07, 06, 07, I had already heard Valley of the Damned. I had already heard Sonic Firestorm. I was already rocking out to him, listening to him and just going nuts, just saying, nothing else matters, because Dragon Force is so goddamn good. And so, I'm not making some kind of argumentation for being a hipster or anything here. Okay. But it was incredible. It's incredible that a lot of these bands overseas are coming out with the greatest music ever. Now they can be heard right alongside and become, popular right alongside any American band by and large, especially in the metal scene. May not be true in so many others. But just a few years ago, very few years ago, imports and all this stuff was a real issue, and it was a real barrier from you finding out about incredible music. And so one of the bands, and they actually got some pretty good releases. This Swedish band got some pretty good releases in America because their music was just that good. But again, I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about them, so I'm going to talk about them. And this band is Dream Evil. Now, not to be confused with the great album by Dio called Dream Evil, but that's certainly where they got the name from, and certainly a lot of inspiration. These guys have 5 albums. Their last one came out in 2010, In the Night, I think it was called. And granted, that album is not their best work, but their first 3-4 albums were really good. In fact, their best of the bunch, certainly Dragon Slayer, which is their first album, that came out in 2002. That was fantastic. That has the song Chasing the Dragon. Talk about intense. You can't stand still when you hear that. You're going to crank out something when you're listening to Chasing the Dragon. Then they had Evilized, which that was a pretty good album, but not in comparison to really what is their magnum opus, which is the Book of Heavy Metal. And I'll play the first track from the Book of Heavy Metal, in a moment. But that song alone is reason enough for the band to exist. It is so, so good. Again, real simple but heavy riffs coming out of it, and great music, about sex and all of this business. And then, of course, the album United was really good. They had a live album, Gold Medal and Metal. Which is a clever play on words that I really enjoyed. Dream Evil's really good, and they've got that right attitude where, it's heavy, the sex is there, the epicness is there. I really enjoy it. Now, I think a lot of people would say, Golden Stallion, you're kind of a non-violent guy. Wouldn't you say that a lot of this metal music is kind of violent stuff, or that it talks about fantastical themes or going into battle and all this stuff? And, at times, certainly like with a band like Manowar, certainly that's what's going on. But it is very much, about the music and about the attitude and about the rebelliousness of it that it delivers overall. Now, I'm not saying I'm the kind of person that doesn't listen to the lyrics. I most certainly do. Okay. But I appreciate good music when it's made. So just in case someone wanted to, to call out on that, there it is. Just like I can watch Star Wars. Okay. So anyway, Dream Evil is phenomenal. I mean, again, another band that by and large is a track for track band where, every song that they kind of crank out is really good. Another great song, Let's Get Rocked. Of course, the title track from United is really good and kind of plays on that theme actually of the fact that, metalheads, you're a metalhead wherever you go. You're kind of like Freemasons. If someone sees you wearing the ring, oh, hey, buddy, how we doing? That sort of thing. So anyway, here's the title track from the Book of Heavy Metal. This song's amazing. We'll let that crank out, and then we'll be back with another band.
A contract with the devil. I tried for so very long. I died to become immortal. That's why I sing this song. Am I a wannabe? Have I no dignity? Who give up on my life to be? hands on their feet, so firm into the ground, and the man of sword nor hand, gonna change the rules upon which the very fundament of metal was made. To be or not to be.
All right, next. It's good stuff. This band, another one from overseas that you would have never heard about if it wasn't for music torrenting, which, again, keep in mind, that forced business models like Spotify, Google Play Music All Access, Pandora, stuff like that. Okay. Because they had to figure out how can we still get everybody making money, but then give the ease of access to music from all around the world that torrenting allows for. So this band I heard of from their very first album, which is a veritable masterpiece. It's called Addicted to Metal. And right from the first track, they have Udo Dirkschneider from Accept, who, boy, talk about another band that still cranks stuff out, or at least Udo's, solo band does a hell of a job still. And that's the title track is Addicted to Metal. It's the first track. It's awesome. Just really rocking. And they're the ones that I mentioned earlier about that sing the song Metal Has No Borders. That's from the song off this album called Metal Nation, which is an awesome song. They do a cover of High Enough. There's a whole slew of great songs. There's one song in particular off of Addicted to Metal that I love, and it's called Hysteria. You got to hear it. Not Def Leppard's Hysteria. I love Def Leppard. Not that, but it's like the lyrics have something to the effect of God hangs between my legs. I mean, it's so good. But they kept going. And I think that Addicted to Metal, that album got some degree of commercial success, and they got a pretty big play for their second album that wasn't so much of a success. And I don't know what happened there, but whatever. I think the record companies had an issue with them because they just had an album come out this year called Megalomania. And that album's fantastic. Megalomania it has the song DNA. It has Maniac Ball. That's an amazing track. But the second album that they had was Money, Sex, and Power. And this had some good songs on it. Money, Sex, and Power, I Will Be King. I mean, there was, just some great rockers on there. But for whatever reason, I get the sense, and it's tough to get information on some of these, foreign bands, global bands, even today. And yeah, so I don't know what exactly happened there because the production level on Megalomania seemed to kind of go down a touch. Not that the music isn't still great and it still sounds amazing. Production level, meaning like the music video production level and just kind of what they've shown, how they made this album. It all seemed to be pretty homegrown, to say the least, but you wouldn't know it by hearing the album. The album sounds fantastic. There's nothing like, it doesn't sound like it got recorded in a home studio or anything, even though maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but Kissin Dynamite's great. I mean, they're really good. Like I said, Addicted to Metal was fantastic. Money, Sex, and Power was a fantastic album. And certainly Megalomania was just off the charts in how good it was. So do look into those. I'm actually going to play for you the song, the title, or the first single from Megalomania, and that is the song DNA. Boy, check out the video for that, though, on YouTube. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes if I think of it. It is intense. So, not intense. I thought it was sexy. Even though it looked kind of cheap in production, I really liked it. So, and the lyrics, fantastic. So Kissin Dynamite, this is one of those kind of new and upcoming bands that if they keep on going, if, people get, have the interest in them, I think they have the chance to really keep, the sexy metal scene very much alive, more so than perhaps any other recently created band. So check it out, DNA. Here we go. Oh, yeah, baby, it's in our DNA. All right. Yeah, so you got to check those guys out. Anyway, next band who you might not think is still going and still rocking it, but they are. And this is one, man, they in many ways, they started the kind of the 80s metal scene, but most people only know one or two songs by them, unfortunately. Which is a real shame because they never stopped. They kept coming out with great music. And this band is Quiet Riot. So, of course, everybody knows Come On, Feel the Noise. Everybody everybody knows the song, Mental Health. And some people will say, oh, they copied, Slade or they copied Angel, whatever. Regardless, they came out with some great rockin' music. Okay. Come On, Feel the Noise was a massive song. The whole album of Mental Health was, it was huge for its day. I think actually, if I remember right, it might be it was the first metal album to chart at number one. That's how big these guys were. But most people think they just kind of fell off. I think a lot of people listened to Condition Critical, and they knew songs from that, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, and all of this. But they kept on going, even when they got a new singer. This is in 86 when they did QR3. At least I don't think that was Kevin DuBrow on there. But QR3 was a great song. And most people don't realize that there were, Quiet Riot made albums before Metal Health. They had QR1 and QR2, which is why there's an album called QR3. And they actually had Randy Rhoads as a guitarist. This is before he was with Ozzy. And of course, Randy Rhoads unfortunately died, in a tragic, I believe it was a plane crash. But yeah, so this is a band that really had a lot of stylistic, a lot of stuff going for it, a lot of really, great ideas. And not every album's totally listenable, but I think a lot of people miss some of the stuff that they were coming out with later on. There was the album Terrified, came out in 93. That was fantastic. Down to the Bone. Yeah. But the real beauty that they came out with was in 1999. And this, woo, this is a near perfect album. Okay. First off, it's called Alive and Well. And first off, every song on it, is really good. But amazingly what they did, and I wish it was the originals, but the remaster and remixing and re-performing that they did of their greatest hits wasn't bad at all, because half of it is new material, half the album is new material, and then the other half is a re-performing of their songs like, Metal Health, Don't Want to Let You Go, all their classics. Okay. So it's like it's about a 20-track album, I think. But the new songs on it are amazing. I mean, good, simple, fun, hard rock, metal, just ready to go. There's the song, The Ritual, badass song, especially, boy, you want to work out to. I know I keep saying that, but that's when I listen to a lot of my music, and the music helps. So, that's great. They even did a cover of Highway to Hell, which is probably the best cover I've ever heard of Highway to Hell. So kudos to Kevin DuBrow for being able to bring it up from the floor, and match. No one can compare to Bon Scott or even Brian Johnson, but they really did a very good job of that. So anyway, that was awesome. There's Slam Dunk. There's a whole slew of songs, of new songs on Alive and Well that were really, really good. Now they had a couple albums, actually that one did so well. Alive and Well did so well as far as I think critical acclaim, that they decided to come out with another album called Guilty Pleasures like a year later. And that album kind of stunk, which is sad because I was really excited for it. I was like, holy shit, Alive and Well was so good. This album is going to be amazing. And it definitely didn't match up. And they had another album come out called Rehab in 2006. And then Kevin DuBrow died. Unfortunately, the lead singer, and he was claiming poverty. It was a really, really sad situation, but he died. But then they came out with an album just this year in 2014 called Quiet Riot 10. And it's a great album. Obviously, they don't have, Kevin DuBrow there, but it's a fantastic album. A short one to be sure, but it has, Jizzy Pearls doing the lead singing, and I thought it turned out pretty good. So you can listen to that. So they're still rocking it. But even so, if I would put them in this list just because of Alive and Well alone, that album. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll play The Ritual from Alive and Well, part of it. Anyway, like I said, I'm not going to play whole songs here because otherwise the special will go on for hours. But enjoy. And really, if you haven't checked out Quiet Riot's other works, I don't really care for 1 and 2, even though I know they've got Randy Rhoads. It's good stuff, but it's just not my style of metal. But everything from Metal Health up, there are some real gems to listen to that I think most people just completely missed. So here we go. The Ritual.
when the day turns black, we will become the ritual.
Oh, man. I can't get enough. I don't want to stop playing it. It's shit's so good. Anyway, all right, so we're at number 8. And number 8 is, of our top 8, of You Need Metal. Number 8 this is kind of, I don't even know how to classify this band. There are some that are kind of similar, I guess you could say. And I know I had mentioned in the beginning of the show, I don't generally care much for the whole screamo, kind of vocals. But this is a band that really fuses all the types of metal. Now, like we said, metal can fuse in amazingly all the other genres of music. Well, this is a band that I feel fuses in all the different types of metal, even Dragon Force, from the most extreme cases to the lightest cases. And they fuse in a bunch of different other genres, in my opinion. And they've only had 3 albums. In fact, their third one came out this year. But I think they're set to be, the biggest thing since Nightwish, and Nightwish is amazing along with Within Temptation and all that. And I mentioned those because Amaranthe, and that's the band Amaranthe, they have, and whether or not they took the name Amaranthe from the song by Nightwish, from their great album Once, I don't know. But Amaranthe, has a female lead singer, and boy, can she let it go. Now, I mean, they also have 2 other singers in the band, kind of like Nightwish, how in Nightwish, it wasn't just Tarja or Anna, they'd have, the guys come in. So there's a couple other, singers that come in with this. But also, we mentioned Dream Evil. Jake E from Dream Evil actually helped create this band. So that gives it a lot of its epic edge, I think. So including some guys, some guys even that were involved with Camelot, which if you don't know Camelot, Black Halo. They've gone downhill. Khan has gone downhill in recent years, but Camelot, that's with a K, is just a tremendous band. So anyway, Amaranthe, this music, their second album, Nexus, okay, their first album, their self-titled, was really good. It had some fantastic songs on it. But Nexus, shit, man. The first 5 tracks, you got to find time to breathe. It rocks you, man. You got to find time to breathe. There's Theory of Everything's an amazing song. The song Nexus itself is fantastic. Afterlife, Invincible. Again, just those first 4, and even Stardust, the song after that. They're nuts. I don't know how to pronounce her name. The lead singer, Elise Reed. I'm or Rid, maybe. I think that's how it goes. Jesus, it's so intense, fast paced, so epic, and even though it brings in kind of the screamo elements at times, it admittedly in this case it actually helps with kind of perhaps the severity of what's happening. And check out their music videos. Their music videos are wild. They're kind of like the band is somehow, secret agents or something, which I know a thing or two about wanting to to play that out in one's audio work. And they're really cool. Like it's good stuff. What they do with all of their music videos, they have a lot of fun, clearly. And their newest album is just as much a masterpiece. Massive Addictive, and it's great. Really good stuff. So, do check out Amaranthe. I don't think you'll have ever heard anything quite like it, even though I mentioned some of the bands that clearly they took some inspiration from, Epica and Within Temptation, and of course Nightwish, kind of being one of the lead bands, and Nightwish is still coming out with great music too. So, but we're not going there. So for Amaranthe, this special's already gone a bit longer than I wanted, but for Amaranthe, I'm actually going to play the song. I'll play The Nexus from the album The Nexus, and we'll see what you think about it, and maybe it'll whet your appetite to try out some great metal here that Amaranthe is delivering. And it's really hopeful because, God, you listen to a lot of pop and a lot of this other stuff, and you can clearly tell when you listen to a lot of the music in other genres, they're either stealing from another genre or not, like they're literally copying a beat from another genre's song, or the most ridiculous thing is that I've come to recognize that a lot of the pop music that has come out since 2013 has actually been using folk music as their backbeats. And I was just like, does anybody, it raises the question, does anybody make great music anymore? Well, fortunately, in the metal scene, there's a lot of people still making great music, including Amaranthe. So here's The Nexus, and I'll be right back after it.
Much good can come from the prudent use of power. One sole and preeminent power.
Damn. Oh, yes. Anyway, so that's the special. That's the top 8 You Need Metal. And I put this together because, maybe, like I said, I've been talking, as much as one can, as much as one has the time and ability, okay, because everybody's different. I want to, honestly, I'll admit that I'm sharing this first off to share some great metal, but also to get people more active, to get you out of your chairs, to get you, at least on a standing desk, or if anything, maybe going in and working out and working on your health and whatever. And I think metal is, for me, huge inspiration to do a lot of that, not just for health. It's a huge inspiration for, when I'm just working in general. Like, it really just gets that intensity, gets you going. It's kind of digital cocaine. And metal's just great in general. It really has a lot of very important rebellious messages, within it that are very much against the status quo, very much society and against, the idea, the notions of the standard society we live in. And it is, it's counterculture. It very much is. And that's really key for people to start tearing away a lot of the fictions in life. And this is one of those music styles that I think can really help people realize that, because, when you go, in fact, I released that great special, Life is People, when I was on Life is People number 11, with Tim, Rich, and Ryan there. And, we kind of, Tim and I talked a little bit about metal at the end, and it's where people really, at a metal concert, people really do let themselves go, unlike anywhere else. They really like the rules do stop applying. And I think that anything that can inspire that kind of, attitude and that kind of acceptance of the fact that, these rules, these laws, fuck them. Good. I say good. And so, that's definitely one of the things that I really love about metal. Punk, it could be said the same for punk, certainly. Punk as a whole, one could say that like punk music is, that's kind of the ultimate genre that can put everything together. But then I would be disrespectful to my fellow punk fans in that punk is anti-music. It's the anti, it's not against music, but it is the anti-music. It is the ultimate anti-industry. So, that's why I wouldn't necessarily, list it in that way. Love punk music. So anyway, there you have it. But I think before I go, there is often the question that gets raised to any metalhead. And that is, who is the greatest metal band of all time? And usually this comes down to three. Okay. And the three are Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and Deep Purple. Okay. Usually those are the three that come up. Now, that's not counting, Judas Priest or Kiss, who kind of came later on, because those other three bands all pretty much started in the late 60s. Okay. And not to mention Alice Cooper. Now, I love Alice Cooper. I love Judas Priest. You have no fucking idea that the album Turbo, talk about underrated. Kiss obviously tops my list in every way. Gene Simmons has been a hero my entire life. But it's as far as within that paradigm of those three, who's the best out of Black Sabbath, out of the forefathers of metal, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, or Led Zeppelin. I give it to Purple. I think Purple, and in fact, actually, if you go outside of America, you'll find that more people, that answer becomes far more common. They're an incredible band, and they're still going. More so, they're still consistently releasing albums. Zeppelin's very, now look, okay, I love the work that was a Coverdale Page, when Jimmy Page did an album with David Coverdale back in the 90s. That was awesome. Shake My Tree, badass song, great stuff. Okay. I know that, I get it that these guys in some ways are still putting out some kind of music and that Zeppelin's never going to reunite. I'm not that big of a Zeppelin fan. Maybe everybody's going to write me off on that one, but I'm just not. It's just like, it's kind of like Pink Floyd. I'm not a Pink Floyd fan either. Everybody says I should be a fan of Pink Floyd, but it's like, no, the music was designed to be good when you are, under the influence, of various substances. And so, I don't care, but Purple's great any way you take it. I love Black Sabbath too, especially when Dio took over. I liked it way better than when they had Ozzy. That's why I loved, in fact, Heaven and Hell. Unfortunately, of course, Dio's dead. But they did come out, that version of Black Sabbath eventually reunited, essentially, and they came out with a great album, and the band name was Heaven and Hell at the time. They even toured. They toured with Coheed and Cambria, which was, I got to see that. That was fucking fantastic. But they did that song Bible Black. I mean, just great shit from Heaven and Hell. So I love Sabbath, you know, make no mistake, even in their other incarnations when they had other singers. But Deep Purple, and this is certainly a band that's gone through plenty of lineup changes. I mean, they're unstoppable. And like, I don't think nobody does not know Smoke on the Water. No, shut the fuck up. Nobody does not know Smoke on the Water. It is the epitome of metal riff. Okay. And no one else matches it. So regardless, that's not even their best song. You know, of course, Highway Star is great. Everybody knows that. But I mean, like, if you listen to, oh God, what was that? Great album in the 80s, Perfect Stranger in the 80s. It was awesome. Great songs on that, smooth metal, great riffs, and they just keep on going. Now what? Rapture of the Deep was amazing. These are albums that have just come out in the past few years. And these guys are still, just rocking it to no end. So I think Purple blows them all away, regardless of which, if it's Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV of Purple, you take your pick. Richie Blackmore, maybe one day would come back and stop doing folk music, but that's okay. I don't mind his folk music, and him and his wife can have a good time all they want. That's all right with me. So who is out of those three, out of Sabbath, Purple and Zeppelin? Oh, I give it to Purple easily blows away everybody else. As much as I love Tony Iommi, it's just how it is. So anyway, that's it. I think the special's gone on long enough. Merry Christmas, everybody. Go out and treat yourself to some of this great music in whatever way you can. And have some fun with it. Fuck, work out, do something fun. All right? Don't worry, regular episode will be out this week too. Carpe Lucem, everybody. I'll see you on the other side.
You just experienced Sovryn Tech. Go to sovryntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovryn Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.